While the overall total number of sales has dropped, it has dropped in unison, which is keeping the pressure on pricing. All right, folks, happy July. We are in full swing. Everyone's always away on vacation for July 4th week, right? And I heard a stat that between the end of June and July 4th this year, 2.6 million travelers were going to be traveling through Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta's airport, which was breaking a record number of travelers. So for those who aren't on vacation, the buyers are out there looking, and that is evident in this month's market stats. So this is As the Market Turns with Melanie Hunt here in your Metro Atlanta area. I'm Melanie Hunt. Here we go. So in June of 2023, things are chugging right along as we saw in May last month. Now last month I mentioned to you about sales prices and overall values of real estate, and how we had kind of reached that place where the dip that we saw was no longer. And one of the stats showed that we might be still down about 1.5% over last year's values, meaning if you had bought in May of 2022 and you wanted to sell in May of 2023, that you might have lost 1.5% of value based on the averages. Well, this month, values have 100% recovered. Let's talk about that a little bit more. June 2023, the median sales price was at $399,900, 0.0% flat over last year, about $10,000 higher than what it was in May. The average sales price for the Metro Atlanta area is up to $484,910. That's up 1.9% year over year. So one could say we have gained, on average, around 2% of values over last year. Days on market, we are seeing those tighten up as well. So the median is at 10. Now that's up 67% year over year, but that is down 2 days over last month. The average is sitting at 29 days on market, up 71% year over year, but down 4 days over last month. So things are moving quicker. They're selling for slightly higher prices. And what we're seeing is that the sales to list price ratio is also holding strong with a median of 100%. So sellers can expect to get 100% of their list price if they sell their home right now. That's down 0.8% over last year and completely flat over May. So it was 100% in May, it's 100% in June. The average is at 99.6%, which is down 2.1% year over year, but up 0.2% over last month. The inventory that is selling from closer to list or higher, a little bit higher than list, which is driving that number up slightly. Median price per square foot, we are at $189 a square foot. That's down 0.5% year over year, but up $2 a square foot over May. And the average is at $204, which is up 0.5% year over year and up $3 a square foot over May. All in all, these are very strong numbers, demonstrating that no matter what you may have heard the media say, it is still very much a seller's market. We have been in a steady 7% interest rate climate for the last couple of months now, and we have not seen any major massive dips in pricing. We have seen that buyers kind of swallowed the fact that they're going to have to pay these higher prices, and they are dealing with it and still chugging right along to buy houses. While the overall total number of sales has dropped, it has dropped in unison, which is keeping the pressure on pricing. So we've had way less amount of buyers that are out there willing to buy in the market right now, but we also have way less amount of listings, people that are willing to sell their house right now. And so that is what is keeping such a good pressure on this pricing and creating this environment where listings are still selling in a median of 10 days on market and for an average of 100% of their list price. Closed sales, we had 6194. That's down 36% year over year. It's also down about 1,600 units over May. So in May, we had a nice little pop of overall homes for sale. One thing I would trace that back to is that interest rates were a little bit lower in April. So kind of spurred this buying frenzy was also spring market, and people were ready to go. In conjunction with that, we've had less and less listings in the market. So the amount of actual closed sales has been shrinking for the last couple of months based on interest rates being higher, less homes available for sale. What I will say is, if you are a buyer, now is a great time to continue to still buy because you are not facing as much competition in the market. If you can find something, you're able to not have to go as crazy as you will should you wait and interest rates drop 0.5% or a full percent. Buyers are going to come back in droves into the market, and there's still going to be not as much inventory. It will create a more competitive buying environment. You guys know that I love to look at average shows to pending and average shows per listing. So in order to get a house to go pending, it took an average of 17.4 showings to happen. Now that's up 15% over last year. So last year, less showings had to happen in order for the house to go pending. But it's also down about 1.2 showings over May. What's interesting about that is it's a good indication of like how many buyers are out there in the market. And we're seeing that there was an additional amount of buyers in the spring, and then that's now started to kind of come back down a little bit. And there's a little less amount of demand in the market essentially. Shows per listing was to 7.8. That's up 8.3% year over year, but it's down 0.2% over May. The things that I'm finding in the homes that we're selling and the homes that we are helping our buyers with is that buyers are becoming increasingly more price sensitive and picky. If they're paying super high prices and high interest rates, they want it to be right. And so we are definitely starting to see a little bit more negotiation happen. Now, I mentioned earlier that sellers are still getting 100% of their list price. However, they may have to give a little bit on an inspection amendment or in some area of the transaction. A year and a half, 2 years ago, there was no inspection contingency happening, no appraisal contingency. Essentially, it was a done deal, and then the sellers were getting, rent back time in their house, essentially indefinitely, up to 2 months, sometimes longer. And so now what we're seeing is it's a much more even playing field where buyers are still having to pay those high prices, but they are able to, in a lot of cases, still negotiate inspection items, terms of the contract, etc. So very much a great time, both as a seller and as a buyer, to transact in this market. If you would like to transact, we would love to talk real estate with you. Give us a call or drop us a line on our DMs, on our YouTube, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for following along. See you in August.